This is not gonna be another video trashing on Alan Wake 2, okay? On this one, I'm gonna try to be a voice of reason, okay? And a member of our community sent me this footage. He's running Alan Wake 2 with the best PC in the world, okay? And I think it is very interesting because he analyzes some of the issues that he sees and it's in Spanish. So what I'm gonna do is I'll play it and I will be talking over it and explaining you what I see and also sharing his thoughts and opinions. Okay, let's take a look at it.
Hola, buenas, Ariel.
So first of all, the first thing that he mentions is that the native HDR looks a little bit muted, and Gaming Tech also commented on that sometimes the highlights are not pushing all the brightness. So he's using the MajorPainTheCactus mod that I've shared with you because that gives you the maximum peak brightness all the time for all the highlights. Okay, and I'm not gonna say that's how it should be because of course creative intent can definitely decide, okay, this light source is gonna be less bright than this light source, and actually we see that with the MajorPainTheCactus mod. But if you're looking at the sun, okay, it has to be the maximum peak brightness. Otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. And as you saw on the live stream yesterday with Gaming Tech, he was looking at the sun and it was like 400 nits sometimes, and it's like, why is that? So he actually contacted a developer from the game, and he explained that basically sometimes you do the HDR work and it's done, and you're like, okay, this is how it should look, it's perfect, and then somebody else from color grading decides to add a color filter or something like that, and then it kills the highlights. Okay, so creative intent, it seems like there has to be a more cohesive way to determine it. And of course, when you have a video game developed by so many people, that becomes is a challenge. Okay, of course, there's always somebody managing the final result, but it's tough. Okay, so the first thing is that he finds out that this MajorPainTheCactus mod does look very good and it works, but he feels like the black level is raised. So he wants to use this Lilium's HDR black floor fixed shader, but then he crushed. He's saying, okay, on a scene like this, he looks at the graph and he's gonna show that it looks perfect, but sometimes he feels like it is crushing, like it's too dark, and I've seen that too. Even when you don't see the graph, like it doesn't look like it is crushing, you see clearly that you're losing detail. So there's something weird going on with the color grading of the game, is my point, because it's probably that a color filter or something like that, because usually this MajorPainTheCactus mod would have perfect black floor. You don't have to use the black floor fixed shader or anything, and it just looks perfect. So when it doesn't, it's because the base game has something weird going on, basically. So let's take a look at it. So that's the first thing that he shares, basically.
El black floor fix, tengo que afinarlo porque
you see the difference? He's turning it on and off, and
no,
to be honest, when he turns that black floor fix,
en algunos sitios se ve bien y en otros como que.
Yeah, so he's saying in some scenes it looks perfect, some scenes it looks like it's crushing when he's using the black floor fix. But from what I can see on this video, which is of course this is not representative to what he sees in front of him, it looks okay without the black floor fix shader. Give it a try. You have the graph, you can look at it yourself and see whatever you prefer. He likes to, okay, I'm gonna use the black floor fix shader, and if I feel like I'm crushing blacks, it's like one click away. So he's playing, he has the keyboard, and just press a button and removes the effect. So I mean, that's definitely an option. Okay, so yeah, the first thing that he comments in terms of how the game looks is some of the ugliness that I saw with Control, and he also refers to that. Okay, this kind of noisy reflections, that's what I saw in Control. So let's take a look at it.
Amateur 2, 800.
And of course, he's sharing the settings of the Lilium's inverse tone mapping, BT2446 method 8, the target brightness 800. He also has an LGC1 48 inches, and the content TRC 2.2, gamma 2.2.
Gamma 2.2, 800. Por ejemplo.
Yeah, so this is the first thing that he comments when it comes to how the game looks.
En HGG. Bueno, entonces, por ejemplo,
this is without ray tracing, first of all. So the first thing that he noticed that he doesn't like how it looks is the reflections are a little bit noisy. And he mentions that it remembers him to Control, to the way the floor on Control looks, which is like kind of noisy. The reflections on the floor look noisy. And that's one of the main reasons why I didn't like how Control looks, because, I mean, you're looking at all the time. All the reflections on the floor is like a noisy picture all the time. And it looks very ugly. So you can see that here in this scene. Look at the surface of the water. Look at this.
Me recuerda al suelo de Control. Se ve borrosa, falta de... como si tuviera... no sé, un pegote ahí.
He's saying it looks kind of blurry, like if it was like a grainy picture, like a Vaseline.
Falta de nitidez, no me gusta
lack
nada.
Of sharpness on the reflections. That's
los
without ray tracing. He will show it with ray tracing.
Pero, ahora te enseño los settings.
So basically, the way he decided to play the game was without ray tracing, with all the graphics and high, and frame generation, of course, DLSS quality, and he's getting like 100 frames per second. But the problem that he finds out is that you get some ghosting with DLSS and not with FSR, and the ghosting goes away when you use ray reconstruction. So the problem is that ray reconstruction is not available if you don't use ray tracing, which it shouldn't be. It's just NVIDIA is not allowing you to have it on without ray tracing. And they should. They should allow you to have ray reconstruction even without ray tracing. And he finds out that when ray reconstruction is working, is turned on, it gets rid of the ghosting that he sees. So let's take a look at that ghosting.
También lo que he visto. Fíjate el ghosting que hay.
Look at the ghosting. When he moves the character.
La cara.
Again, this is DLSS without ray reconstruction. Look at the ghosting here surrounding the character.
Pelo. No sé si en el
you can see it here. Look.
Se va a ver,
look at this part. Look at this part.
Muy feo.
See?
¿Ves? En el personaje.
You can clearly see the ghosting there.
Cuando apunta se ve más, ¿ves? Fíjate en la cara
it's
de la
cruz. A lot of ghosting.
Se ve bien, la cruz blanca no hay ghosting, pero en el personaje sí.
And it is not because of frame generation. He actually tested turning off frame generation is the same ghosting. It's DLSS, okay? And it just goes away with ray reconstruction. But with FSR, you don't see ghosting. He will test that, you'll see it. Which is very interesting, very interesting. Definitely, if ray reconstruction can fix that issue, NVIDIA should definitely allow that to be without ray tracing. It should be possible.
Pero esto desaparece.
One thing I don't like about the game, it's just I cannot understand why the menu has this, green filter, this gray that looks green, basically. Just make it transparent. Maybe, I understand, maybe it's, you don't want to have the visibility of the menu being affected by the game, and it depends on the scene. So maybe if you're on a bright sunny day, the menu wouldn't be as visible. So I kind of understand why they're adding a filter, so you ensure that you can always see the menu. But it would just be so much better. I mean, just have like a transparency effect here where the letters are, and make the rest of it just completely transparent, so you can also see the changes you're doing in real time here. It just doesn't make any sense. This green filter is just a bad idea for the menu.
Por ejemplo, pones el ray tracing.
You can see the settings he's using. No ray tracing, everything else max.
Está muy roto este juego. Mira, si ahora pongo el ray tracing a tope, vale, está a tope.
So everything maxed out. He's gonna try everything maxed out now with frame generation and and DLSS. So this is frame generation, everything maxed out. DLSS quality frame generation. He's getting like 60 frames per second on a 4090. Okay.
DLSS, fíjate, DLSS calidad con frame generation y bueno, todo ultra, ¿vale? Ahora te lo pongo. Ultra alto.
Everything maxed out.
Alto, todo alto. Ultra alto. Bueno, no se puede ir más allá. Esto es absolutamente al máximo.
So everything absolutely maxed out.
Granulado que no me gusta. El juego hay que decir que tiene de base TAA, seguramente pues se ve muy poco definido, he tenido que poner.
He's saying that, you know, because of it seems like because of the base TAA that just looks kind of blurry, it still looks kind of blurry. With these settings, DLSS quality still looks kind of blurry, and that's what I see.
En el modo FPS.
But now here's the interesting part. The ghosting goes away completely. Take a look at this.
¿Y qué pasa? Que si ahora hago esto...
Look, no ghosting.
No hay ghosting. Yo pensaba que era una cosa de
no ghosting here.
O frame generation. Pero es curioso que cuando pones ray tracing más ray reconstruction...
Yeah. So basically, ray tracing with plus ray reconstruction, the ghosting goes away. And that's like very interesting. I've never seen anyone pointing that out yet. Okay? I mean, most people don't notice the ghosting. Yeah, maybe if you are getting a low FPS and all, you cannot see it, but it's clearly visible. Look, there's no ghosting right now. No ghosting.
Mira el pelo, la cara, ya no hay ghosting.
And it seems like that's because of ray reconstruction.
También otra manera de quitarlo. El agua se ve un poquito mejor. Quizá.
Also, the quality of the reflections, he mentions that the resolution of the reflections now, it doesn't seem to be high because it doesn't look very defined. It's not ugly looking. It looks okay, but it's not like a mirror, okay? And water should definitely produce mirror-like reflections, okay? And I've seen a lot better reflections than this in other games without ray tracing even, okay? I just remember Uncharted. Uncharted has reflections that look like mirror without even ray tracing. And they are not screen space reflections. They seem like they have like a cube map or something like that. Also racing games, they have the car with that mirror, like that you basically see all the reflections of the world. They might not be accurately placed or something like that, but it still looks like a mirror, very well defined. Sometimes, you know, lower resolution than the real world. But this looks, it looks blurry. It's not like, wow, a spectacular reflections thanks to ray tracing. It's just not wow. I'm not wowed by these reflections. Okay, I'm just, again, a voice of reason today.
Piensa que está con path tracing.
He's saying this is path tracing, so, you know, this is not like mind-blowing. It's like, okay, it's okay, but it's not like, wow.
Todo absolutamente en alto. Tampoco es que sea...
La hostia.
No es que sea la hostia.
La hostia, tío. It's not...
El agua se ve como...
So we say and they say in Spain this phrase, la hostia, okay, and that means like something that's like incredible, you know, like wow, fantastic, you know. That's how they say it. No, in a colloquial way.
Con otra... Se ve un poco mejor, pero tampoco, no sé, no me gusta.
He's saying, okay, it does look better with ray tracing, the quality of the reflection, but it's not like wow. And he's like, okay, it's not like I like it a lot. It's not. I don't feel like it looks impressive enough for me to like it. Really, it looks kind of blurry.
Si pongo opciones gráficos quito el ray tracing. Vamos a quitarlo.
So he's gonna turn off ray tracing now. And he will test FSR. You see, with FSR, there's no ghosting.
Quitamos frame generation. Sigue haciéndolo así, sigue habiendo el ghosting.
See, look at that. Look at the ghosting now.
Mira la cara.
Look at the ghosting now. See?
O sea que no es el DLSS.
It's not DLSS. It seems to me a ray reconstruction. It's not frame generation, basically. He turned off frame generation with DLSS, and you still have the ghosting. So what this proves is that the ghosting doesn't have anything to do with frame generation. It seems to be the ray reconstruction. Now, take a look at FSR. FSR, no ghosting. No ghosting with FSR. Look, no ghosting here. Super interesting. So let me tell you, if AMD adds their own frame generation for FSR, and now you get no ghosting without ray tracing, I would play like that instead. The thing is, he's gonna play with DLSS because you have frame generation with DLSS, so you can get, he can play no ray tracing, all the graphics max out. And I mean, I would lower some graphics and try and see. I'm sure he did that too. So, it's up to you. But the thing is, if you don't use the ray tracing, like hardware ray tracing, because, Digital Foundry discussed that the game is still using ray tracing even if you turn it off. It's using software ray tracing, even with medium settings, which is kind of nuts. So the thing is, if I get rid of the ghosting with FSR, and now AMD adds the FSR 3 frame generation, I would use that instead, because then I can turn off ray tracing and get no ghosting. That would be a huge win for AMD. If this is not something that NVIDIA can fix with a patch or remedy, it would be a clear win for AMD and FSR, 100%, because you get no ghosting. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I do care that a DLSS is resolving better the details, but when you move the camera, you see the ghosting. And this is not something, I mean, you're going to notice this because you have the character aiming all the time. That's what you're doing. You're aiming and you're moving to the left and right, and you're seeing ghosting all the time. The FSR would be better even if the details are not as well resolved, or even if you get some shimmering. But a 4K ultra quality FSR, it should be okay.
Y quito FSR, o sea que es el DLSS, algo causa aquí el ghosting. Si quito FSR y pongo DLSS, DLA, tampoco hay ghosting. Fíjate. Nada. Claro, los FPS se van a la mierda.
So he's saying that also it's weird that with DLAA, you get no ghosting either. So DLAA is supposed to be just using the DLSS as anti-aliasing. So it seems like there is something going on with the DLSS upscaling, that's causing that ghosting, because with DLAA, there's no ghosting either, which is, again, interesting. No ghosting, you see?
Bien. Y si pongo DLAA, bueno, ahora vas a reírte.
So now he's gonna max everything out with DLAA.
Y metemos
everything max out.
Esto ya es para llorar.
On the most powerful PC in the world, he says this is to cry.
Con path tracing.
Path tracing, everything max out.
Nos podemos ir a tomar por culo, ¿no? Básicamente. Todo alto, ¿vale? Todo absolutamente.
Everything max out.
En alto sin ningún tipo de rescalado.
Here we go. No upscaling.
Vale. Y desenfoque y ahora lo quitamos.
DLAA 4K, true 4K resolution.
Vale. DLAA. Fíjate tú dónde
Let's see the performance. Let's take a look at the performance. Okay, here we go. 22 frames per second.
22.
Absolutely crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. He says, man, this is a 4090. Man, it's like... And it looks good, but I mean, this still looks kind of blurry. It's not like, wow, man, this just looks insane. I cannot wait to have a 5090 to use this kind of settings. It just looks like, okay, it looks good, but it's not like, wow, man, this is definitely granting, that this is definitely justifying 22 frames per second. Not at all. So, yeah. Very interesting.
Es un puto chiste, tío. Y
It's
gráficamente...
a joke.
Es un... ¿Qué quieres que te diga?
It says graphically, it's like, meh. It's like a joke, basically. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Basically, he, just gives his impression of the game. Link in the description of the video. By the way, this member of our community had his YouTube channel with like almost 2,000 subscribers, and it got hacked. And it was a YouTube channel with, long time YouTube channel, and he's a real gamer. He posts like world records and stuff like that. I mean, he beats the games. He has like 300 hours on games and things like that. Like he's like a hardcore gamer. So check him out. He's just getting started again. So I also wanted to do this video to support his channel. So show him some love. And this is a very good, very cool analysis. He, the quality of his recordings is the highest possible, basically, for YouTube. So he has all the gear, and he also likes to do overclocking videos and all of that because he likes to get, the best of the best CPU and GPU. And he's always testing the new games coming out. So check him out. It's in Spanish though, but you don't need to speak in, Spanish to understand these numbers here. You can just take a look. So basically at the end he says, okay, this is how I would play the game. DLSS quality, ray tracing turn off, frame generation, and yeah, unfortunately the ghosting is the problem there. So again, FSR with FSR 3 frame generation without ghosting would be a better option. It would be a better option. So I hope AMD starts rolling that FSR 3 because this ghosting is really annoying. I mean, look at the size of the ghosting. Okay, let's think about that. Look at the size of the character on the screen. We're not talking about something like it's not gonna be noticeable. Look at the size of the ghosting here. It's like this size. We're talking about this big on the screen. That's very ugly. Very, very ugly. So FSR with frame generation would definitely be preferable. Or unless NVIDIA can fix that ghosting. There's something going on with the upscaling because with DLAA that doesn't happen. So yeah, some noisy reflections that like what happened in Control. So yeah, let's leave it there. Overall, I don't think the game looks terrible. Okay, the performance is terrible. Very, very bad. And I'm definitely not expecting to struggle to get 120 FPS with a 4090 using DLSS, okay, quality. That should be rock solid 120, no drops. And even more than that, with the 4090, I'm sure you can play most of the games using DLSS and upscale from 4K to 1.75x or 2.25x of 4K, and you can use DLSS quality on top of that, so you basically get it down to 4K, really, and it looks fantastic. That's what my expectation with a 4090 would be, that just to get the best 4K anti-aliasing possible and just max out the graphics. And okay, if there's a game that is trying to push the boundaries, maybe you cannot max out the graphics, you turn it down a little bit and you still get a good picture. But this is not what I'm expecting, basically. This is not a picture. You're always gonna have flaws on the picture, okay? But these noisy reflections, blurry and noisy reflections, is not what I am expecting when I spend a lot of money on a PC. Okay, that's not to be expected. Why? Because there are some games that don't have these noises. Okay, it's as simple as that. And also you have to go to the config file and turn off some post-processing garbage that they are forcing that makes the game also look like kind of out of focus and ugly. and also the depth of field and stuff like that, which I always disable in the games. You have to modify that on the config file. So this is the Northlight engine, not Unreal Engine 5, but it has some of the same ugliness that Unreal Engine 5 has. This kind of ugliness, I see that on Unreal Engine 5 sometimes. So yeah, share your thoughts and opinions. Again, you know, sometimes I do a video trying to explain everything and be, you know, as scientific as possible, even when I'm not an expert. Sometimes I try to be a voice of reason, like today. And sometimes I just like to throw out there my emotions, okay? So don't take that too serious, man. It's like a kid, like, oh, I don't like it. That's what I'm doing, basically. And I really don't like this. I don't like this. I'm not happy with it. I didn't like Control, never liked how it looked, Control. So I was already predisposed with this game. And on top of that, I'm not a big fan of this kind of games, this kind of horror games, you know, Resident Evil kind of games. I've tried to play them, but I'm just not a big fan of them. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.